Today we're going to be making orange zest scones. What we need is 2.5 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 cup of cold butter, 1 cup of milk, 1 egg, and 2 tablespoons of zested orange. So let's get started. One other ingredient that I'm going to be using, and I don't always use this is called turbinado sugar, or some people call it raw sugar, but it's very coarse sugar, and I'm going to be putting that on the top of the scones. I didn't put it in the main ingredients because it's an optional thing. Some people like it, some people don't, but we're going to be putting that on today. Okay, the first thing that we need to do is we want to blend in or mix in the cold butter. When you start off this recipe, make sure chop up your butter like this, and then make sure you put it back in the fridge until you're ready to go. You want this very nice and cold. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our flour and we're going to pop in all of the butter, and we're going to start mixing that in with our pastry blender here. So what this little thing does is it breaks up all of the butter into very small pieces, and this is what's going to cause the dough to be nice and flaky and puffy. So I'm going to continue on doing this until I break it all down into little tiny pieces, and then we'll come back. But a good way to pull it up and mix it around and make sure that you've got all the little pieces is to just grab the dough butter mixture and move it up like this. Now you might be wondering, well, I don't have one of these little gizmo things. You can go in there with your fingers and you can actually pick it up, and you can feel the pieces of butter in your fingers, and you can actually break them down into smaller pieces. You're looking for butter about the size of peas. And what's nice about this is that every time you go into the flour, your fingers are constantly being floured, so the butter is not sticking to your hand. But you can go around like this, or another method is to take 2 forks, and you can take the forks and kind of push it into the mixture and break down the butter that way. So you can still do this recipe if you don't have one of these things. These things are about $5, no more than that. You can probably pick them up some places for $3 or even $4 or whatnot. But that's it's a great little thing to have if you do a lot of pastry. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour my milk into a larger container here so I don't have any splashes. And I'm going to break my egg. So let's break that. Come on, baby. There we go. And pop the egg in there. And then I'll grab a whisk, and we'll give that a whisk. And there we go. That splashed. Okay, so there we go. I might as well throw in my orange zest right now, and we'll just mix that in. Oh, and that smells really, really good. That orange zest is really, really potent. It smells so good here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this mixture and we're going to pour it in, and we're going to kind of fold it in. You really do not want to get this overmixed. If you overmix this kind of batter, you're going to have tough scones. Scones, same thing. Some people pronounce them differently. Whichever way you say it is the right way. You can see the dough is coming nicely together. I'm just going to get myself another fork here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to dump this out onto the counter to finish it off. You do not want to use a mixer. to mix this. If you've got a KitchenAid or something that's strong enough to mix this kind of thing, don't use it. It's amazing. You turn on a mixer, like a KitchenAid mixer, in 10 seconds it will do what you could do by hand, in 2 minutes. And you really don't want that, because it's so easy to mix up the dough too much. So what you want to do here is you want to kind of get it all together. Try to get all of the little pieces together. You don't want to waste any of that goodness, but you don't want to overwork it. You don't want to overwork it. This is a very nice dough. You can see all the little pieces of orange. All right, let's go to commercial break. All right, so what we're gonna do here, I'm gonna put down a little bit of flour on my work area and get that over like that. I'm just gonna get a little bit. I don't want to get too much flour on here. I'm gonna flatten it out. And then I'm going to use a glass, just a regular old glass, to cut my shapes. Okay, I've got myself a baking tray, and what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to flour up my little thing here, and we're going to start cutting out little shapes, little circles. Hopefully I'm on camera here. I'm just going to continue doing this. So what you want to do is get as many as you can cut out. And the trick to this is always making sure that you can, try to stay as close to the other circle as you can, so that you cut out as many as you can. There we go. Maybe one in there with a little piece taken out. There we go. Okay, then what you do is you gently push all of these back together, all the little pieces, and that'll be ready for my next batch. Alright, so what I'm going to do here before they go into the oven, I'm going to throw on some of this sugar that I was talking about. And we're going to bake these at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. So I'm going to pop these in the oven and we'll be back. Let's get these over. So here we go. Woo. And these are our orange zest scones. Those look great. And there we go. I still have this portion of dough to do, so I'm going to do those, and I'll be back in a bit. Alright, so here we go. We've got the rest of the scones out of the oven, and I have to admit that I did eat one. Alright, so that's the end of this video, and I'll see you next time.